do that.
And may all my illnesses be covered by Medicare.
Yeah, right. So
Yes,
you cannot
yes.
practice like Amitayu, indiscriminately. I said that I receive a very powerful long life empowerment the day I signed my house mortgage.
Yes.
Like somehow they believe I'm going to live for another 30 years and have the ability to pay them for the next 30 years. It's like, wow, what other long life empowerment do I need? The bank has guaranteed that.
They're banking on it.
Yeah.
Oh, they are pretending that that's the scenario, and so I'll pretend that that's the scenario, and everyone keeps pretending until it's not that scenario.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
But
that's
that's
basically, what relative reality is all about, right?
Yep.
Everyone go on pretending until somebody goes, wait, the emperor is naked. Good afternoon. Sorry, it's been a while. Sundays have suddenly become kind of busy here. Part of it is my weekday schedule is actually quite open, so kind of like slowly. How in the U.S. I think clergy play golf on weekdays.
That's right.
Also, that's also when it's cheaper, Monday or Tuesday golf. That's all the clergy comparing notes on Monday and Tuesday. So anyway, because I'm leaving first 2 weeks of May, then I'll come back to Asheville for 2 weeks. Then I'm gone 6 weeks in Asia. Then coming back middle of July, and then mostly in the US until end of September. Then gone for 2.5 months in Nepal. Then that takes me up to right before Christmas. And so along those lines, in terms of scheduling, I think Cheryl, Melissa, and other people have been, Charlotte also involved in determining a time for me to come to Little Rock. I think we agreed on maybe the first weekend in September, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what is the date in Maine, Dr. Lye? You can't
I
come
don't
on.
know. All I know is first weekend of September.
It's the 6th, 7th, and 8th of September.
Okay, because I'm going to Maine in September.
Right.
20.
Karen, the main trip is the next weekend,
Thank you.
according to Joyce.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, fabulous. Will you give us an empowerment?
You want a mortgage or something?
I just want money.
Jambala empowerment.
Maybe, yeah, maybe Foster Yogini.
Oh, no. No, nothing like that. I don't know. So yes, we have not discussed. We have not discussed what we will do when I come.
There's time for that, but I wanted to ask you because you have you gave us a wonderful Milarepa empowerment and
No, I think it was Manjushri maybe one
no,
time.
that was the Milarepa weekend at Casey's house.
Milarepa weekend was a practice weekend at Casey's home.
That's right.
And it wasn't
So-
an empowerment, it was a learn your ritual objects kind of weekend.
Okay, but
Right.
it wasn't, you weren't thinking of it as one that we should continue to do on our own, or you were just teaching us?
It was
How
just, I think it was like a context for us to get acquainted with ritual objects.
Okay.
Not necessarily advocating that you do that practice, or also not saying you don't do, but at that time, I think it was in the part of it was I had done something like that
Yeah.
in Guatemala.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
we came and we had it at Casey's because we didn't feel that it was the kind of program that would attract beyond, the 10 of us who have that kind of interest, at least in the context of EBS. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's part of the, which, both Cheryl and Melissa has been good at, that we are quite conscious of the need to offer something that has a broader appeal,
Right.
both for the practical reason of, financial support for the program, for the center, but also if we don't just think about that, which I don't think we're just thinking about that, also with the hope that it will be something that more people can kind of connect to, relate to, and be helpful to them. So for those two reasons, I don't think this coming up will be a part 2 of what we did at Casey's.
So what I was trying to get at was like sort of, and in fact, at this moment, you are the only retreat teacher coming to EVS so far this year.
Mm.
And as far as I know, Namtukden's not planning to come back. We haven't heard anything anyway about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, the broader the better.
Yeah, right.
From my point of view. Now, I don't want to preclude these loyal, wonderful people who study with you every week, you
Mhm.
know, and their needs do have to come first.
Mhm.
So somehow, but I was also wondering, you gave us the Vajrasattva practice, right? And you gave us
Yes, yeah, right.
one time, the medicine Buddha last time.
Oh,
right?
yes, yes,
I mean, so somehow and I don't know that everybody's doing any of those
Right.
or really, I don't know, so
right,
somehow, what can we actually do and put
Right.
into
right,
in our,
right. So yeah, we can think about that and also think about that in terms of potentially then Sunday programs need not be just reading, discussing. It could also be tied to a practice. So for example, if we look at what they do in Guatemala Center, so they meet every Tuesday, and the program that they do there, they asked me for a name, so I gave them the name Nourishing the Roots. Somehow they like that name. I don't know, at one point I like that name. And so that Tuesday night program is called Nourishing the Roots. And what I do with them is not too dissimilar from what I do with you guys, except that they have the practice element. So when I meet with them, then I am going over the kind of the main text dealing with view in the Drigong Kagyu called the single intention. So we have been going over the single intention forever, because right now they are like in chapter 4. There's like 7 + 1 chapter, total of 8, 7 + 1. And we go very slowly and there's no rush, there's not a sense of like, oh, we need to complete. It's almost like that is a reference point, like if I don't have anything else that I'm going to talk about, we go back to, okay, chapter 4, statement 8, we go like that. Then when I don't turn up with them, then they don't look at the single intention. They choose from a number of practices that I've exposed them to, and they do those practices together. So we can sort of, I think in terms of that, like identify something, and that will be at least for a while for this group on Sundays, so that It's not just, yourself reading. In fact, in that sense, they don't read by themselves, you know. Uh, mm, and you all have read by yourselves, which I like that too, but you've done quite a bit of that already. So I don't know if you want to keep going with that. Maybe for some of you, that's like the best part of this program. But conceivably for some of you, it's like, no, it's just us talking and we don't really know what we're talking about. Inevitably, that's part of the whole learning process, and it's healthy to as nothing has gone wrong. It's healthy to feel that and normal, but there's always a threshold, right? If you've reached the threshold of like, really, like we don't really know what we're talking about, and we don't want to do that anymore, so we could mix things up a little. So that's
I'd be in more Amitabha's practice here.
yeah, it's a very nice practice, isn't it?
Very nice
Yeah.
Yeah, the Saturdays have been very nice, and so one way to do this might be, and this requires then people who, like as Cheryl pointed out, those of you who have been following closely what I'm doing. That then what happens is like you clear your Friday, then that Friday, we did a little bit of that, but I think, I got busy, people got busy, I got busy, meaning, I didn't fly in until, like sometime on Friday. But if we determine like, not just those of you who are able and happy to follow closely what I've been doing, but within this Sunday group, if there's a consensus like this upcoming one, that Friday everybody can clear their schedule and commit to being there, then we'll do that something that is more focused to specifically supporting this Sunday group, not just those of you who are following what I do closely, but this Sunday group, and potentially even announcing to say, hey, if you have dabbled enough of Buddhisms and you think you want to give it a try to have a more focused Tibetan Buddhist practice, then this Friday thing is really good, and then Saturday, Sunday, we can do something more with a broader appeal. And I think we should do like before, right? All day Saturday, half day Sunday. I tend to leave on Sunday evenings, but the last few times, apparently it's bad to leave Sunday evenings. I always get stranded somewhere. Maybe the spirits are telling us something, But nonetheless, I think we should end around midday on Sunday simply because people have their lives to live, It's kind of hard to give up the whole weekend. I know, I don't know what we're busy with, but we are,
Stuff we can't get to during the week.
It's in that way it's different, like if you go off to somewhere else, right, you're like happy to have the whole weekend doing the program. But if you're still in the same town and some visiting teacher has come, in a sense that's more challenging to try to
Yeah, indeed.
use the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So potentially, Amitayus, even potentially the longevity empowerment of Amitayus on Friday. And even potentially that could be done in the evening, the actual empowerment. Then, but then come Saturday, we're not going to say much about that. We're going to do something else, Saturday and part of Sunday.
in terms of general EBS context, there isn't very much going on, like I said, and what we sort of are down to is kind of basically helping people establish a connection to meditation.
Mm,
I mean, we're just reinstituting our monthly half-day silent sitting sessions. And we have the Wednesday night is a public meditation, but that doesn't mean you have to do that. I'm just saying the action here is at that beginning level
right.
and small cores of people, the small group of people around,
Yeah.
around Thich Nhat
Right.
Hanh, around you.
Right.
Anyway, you'll figure it out.
Mhm.
We will figure it out. But I
Yeah.
like this plan. It sounds very good.
Mm-hmm.
And Mick and I are leaving that Monday, so we could all go to the airport together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Wait,
leaving that
nobody's
Monday.
making the connection.
Yeah. Or people could take you, but I'm just saying it's,
Right, right.
works great.
Yeah, maybe Monday morning is better, time to leave.
Yeah.
Uh, I think who knows, they were weather related. And so
You'll
I don't
figure.
know if there's a Sunday weather pattern necessarily. I think because like it's an afternoon thing and then the weather got cranky, then there are not that many alternatives leaving the rest of that day.
Getting out, yeah,
One time I think I ended up in Texas, which was the connect, which is, that could be fun, like an unscheduled visit to Texas for one night.
I don't know that September is gonna be pretty wild in Texas.
Oh, yeah, that'll be election time. right?
Yeah. Be pretty.
Oh yes, election time.
Oh,
For those of you who have the ability and the leisure, I suggest that you try to plan some going away or retreat of leaving the country right around that time. Cast your vote, leave. You don't need to be, exposed to all the hoo-ha for and against whoever, whatever. Yeah. Go to the Caribbean for 10 days or whatever, 5 days before and 5 days after. Not available. Turn off news. Trust me, everything will be exactly what it will be, after 10 days not tuning into anything.
I love that plan.
Yeah. Just go to the beach or go to wherever you just turn off everything,
in 2018, Mick and Betsy and I were on a mountainside in Parping, Nepal, with Chokanima, who's doing a huge fire puja offering for the world. We were praying. It was magnificent.
It was
All the monks, all the
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So it was really great. Yeah,
Perfect place to be.
I like that plan. I think
Yeah.
we'll try to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Just run away.
That's right.
Or rent a cabin somewhere and, not turn on.
a place that does not have internet access. Then you
Yeah.
would have to-
You can download a whole bunch of movies you want to watch, Okay.
Yeah.
Just turn off the internet, turn off news, 10 days. 5 days before that Tuesday and 5 days after. You don't, your paying attention changes nothing positively, negatively. It will only impact you negatively to stay tuned.
You could go out to Jasper,
Yeah,
rent a cabin.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we could do Amitayus for our favorite candidate, just, both of them kind of need it. So whoever you plan to vote, you could do Amitayus for them.
Woman asked her what who should run for president, she said someone younger.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that.
Well, what we have is not somebody younger, so
Yeah.
then you have to figure out who you think is, coming to the burning house with a bucket of water and who is coming
Yeah.
with a bucket of gas.
That's pretty easy to figure out, if you
Yeah.
ask me, but.
Seems pretty good to me, yeah.
It's like, do we want octogenarians as your firefighters? No, but that's what has turned up. So then you need to decide who is coming with a bucket of water and who is coming with a bucket of gasoline. Okay, so where are we, and what, or more simply, what do you want to talk about?
Well, we had a small group last weekend, Steve
Mhm.
and Nick and I
was here.
Joyce, which is,
And
and Jim. And Jim was on Zoom.
Hmm.
But I was looking, I swear, we had this real struggle with the language in one of these chapters, and before you showed up, I was trying to find the part and I couldn't find it.
Maybe it's not such a struggle. It's just the memory of a struggle.
Is it something about solitary realizer?
No, I mean, my bookmark is on 8, meditating on love and compassion,
Uh-huh.
chapter 8, so.
Yeah, does anyone remember?
Yeah, but we were talking about chapter 7, I think.
Hmm.
7.
Wasn't it about vows somehow, about vows? I don't know.
Oh, probably. Who likes vows?
Anyway, but we could, why don't we just? Oh, yeah, individual liberation.
Yeah, so let's look at karma, cause and effect, and the vows of individual liberation. I think, just to start anywhere is just as good as anywhere. So let's go there.
Yeah.
Because those are there are matters there that I think we're not familiar with the context, we're not familiar with the vocabulary, and also sometimes you have to always remember the context, the cultural context and what people hear, where when things are said a certain way and not certain other ways, and right. So so much of this is we hear how we hear things, a lot of it, right? I mean, it's a basic Buddhist teachings, based on the framework that we have, right? And we're all so committed to our frameworks, right? So that's precisely, exactly what the Buddha is pointing to in a deeper way, in a more significant way. It doesn't mean then the details don't matter because the details are too culturally bound or historically bound. I think that would be also a mistake to come away saying, oh, everything you just need to see the cultural. The point of seeing even the cultural and the historical forces at play is not to therefore say this material has no relevance to us or outdated and this and that. But the point of paying attention or being aware of cultural and historical context is then to say, so what is the, what is it, right? What is the take-home lesson here? And also allow for, well, maybe this cultural context or that cultural or that historical context should serve, as a way to make me question my cultural context and my historical reference. So even that, right? So it's a matter of how do we read? Right? So anyway, let's look at this. I am using Whose translation? Oh, Werner Burns, but that's not necessarily what everyone is using. I think everybody has access to the other, right? The one by Barrett.
Right.
Yeah, the
Page
PDF.
60.
Mm. But if you have the book, then one translation is page 60, and the other translation is page 55. Yeah? So here, page 60, karmic causality and the vows of individual liberation. So here, individual liberation, sosor tarpa in Tibetan, sosor, individual liberation. This is referring to how these trainings, these vows, these prescriptions and proscriptions. So even that, right? Using that understanding. Superficially, when you look at the rules, so to say, the vows, the precepts, it superficially looks like, oh well, that's what to be expected. That's what religious people they all talk about this. But it makes a big difference to whether these rules of training are understood as rules of training or understood as commandments or understood as law. So here primarily the Buddha uses the metaphor of a doctor and her patients. So what the doctor gives then in the end, what she gives is prescriptions and proscriptions. Not so strong as prohibitions, but proscriptions. To proscribe, meaning said, if you want to get well, don't do this. If you want to get well, do that. Take that. But avoid this. So that is at the heart of these training points that the Buddha gave. They are prescriptions and proscriptions. And so here, then on the level of individual liberation, it means that this is primarily what is meant for if the individual, if you don't want suffering, then these are the prescriptions and proscriptions that you should pay attention to. So these are the individual liberation trainings, vows, precepts. So the 5 precepts, across all Buddhist traditions, in this context, they are considered part of individual liberation. The monastic precepts, which upwards of 200, 250 to 300 something, they are all rooted actually in the 5. And the 5 is what non-monastics, Dharma practitioners should abide by. And so I sometimes like to use the example of insurance coverage. Yeah. So to drive, what do you need? Sure, you need a car, you need to know how to use a car, but the minimal that you need to have is called collision, right? Insurance. Yeah. That means, if you end up harming someone, you're covered to pay for the damage that you're causing someone. Yeah. So in terms of practicing the Buddha's teachings, then you have to have this insurance. So it's called individual because it's not full coverage. Full, comprehensive coverage the Buddha gave in the form of the trainings for monks and nuns. Full coverage training, full coverage insurance. Yeah, so in that sense, right, it's not very accurate if we think, oh, well, I didn't take that vow, you know. And people sometimes say things like that, right? Especially when we're like, at least for me, I've seen, you know, especially like when we're excusing some behavior that, you know, like, you know, and we're like, well, you know, well, he's not a monk, so, you know, it's okay. Well, if we really examine that statement, right? Oh, he's not a monk and therefore it's okay, right? If you literally mean it that way, then you're saying, well, the Buddha is really, you know, like has some kind of weird vendetta against monks and nuns, you know, that he gave all those rules. You know, Buddha must really like me, you know. He said, I don't need to keep that rule. It's like saying, right? You cannot go out after 8. You go in and out as you wish. But the point is, when nightfalls come, they're more likely to get harmed. So, to those of us lay people, the Buddha says, don't go out, you know. And to the monks and nuns, he says, oh, you want more safety? Yeah, is cannot go out. Not just don't, but I cannot go out. So that's like a fuller protection. Then it's not wise to go out, you know. So you should not like, you know, well, I never took the vows of not going out at night, so la 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 la, you know. So I think these are some more basic things we need to kind of, you know, pay attention to, you know, so that then our relationship with these training points, with these vows, isn't going to go into the kind of like, these are things to kind of cram my style, you know. I mean, I have a translator who, you know, kind of say, like, you know, yeah, I was translating this text, you know, it has to do with the vows and the precepts, and it's like, it's not my kind of stuff, you know. And I said, so what do you like to translate? It's like, you know, I don't know, those vows, you know, it's not my stuff, you know. And what he's saying is like he likes to translate, you know, the very poetic, the very inspiring, you know, like nature of mind is la 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 la, you know, just relax into the la 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 la, and it's like, so then we have a tendency to think, you know, oh, Buddha gave those, you know, like us, you know, and those vow stuff, you know. Then I think we have wrong view, you know. Yeah, so anyway, let's look at here. Well then, for those uncertain about the truth of these statements, which is cyclic existence, its nature is suffering, the protector that protects one from this suffering, the other 3 jewels, and there exists a method of liberation from this kind of unsatisfying existence. So karmic causality is taught for the purpose of making them trust their truth. Oh, I don't know. Let's look at the other translation. That's a little bit like, what do you mean? Okay. Right. So to engender faith in this, karma, cause and result are taught. In other words, so the other translation, it says, well, if you should think, it is not certain that the nature of samsara is suffering, or that the protection from that suffering comes from the three jewels, or that there is a means of liberation from samsara. Is there? I'm not sure. So then it says here, in order to help us be more certain about these truths, then the Buddha elaborated on this topic of karmic cause and effect, karmic causality. So there are 4 topics concerning the teaching. So this is referencing the root text, when it goes into this weird kind of front slash, meditate on cause and result, because cyclic existence and nirvana are not without causes and did not arise from non-accordant causes. That's a technical term, sometimes just discordant. That means that which is not related to those causes. And the classifications of karmic actions and result, the teaching on the nature of each of them, the teaching on their proof, and the teaching of the vows of individual liberation that rely on them. And so all this whole text, is written in a very, you could say, systematic way. These are often called lamrim, stages of the path, or also called related. There are some slight differences, but for us, for our intents and purposes, it's the same. And there's a second term used in Tibetan called tenrim, stages of the doctrine, tenrim. Lamrim, stages of the path. If you like go out and you say there's a difference, what is the difference? Then the difference is basically a lamrim tends to be more it's a matter of relative. It's relative to. So a lamrim relative to a tenrim, the lamrim has more of a focus on the actual process, the path, the practice, and the tenrim has more leans more in the direction of how to understand and arrange the different teachings, so that they don't look so contradictory. So that they all look like they cohere together. Yeah. So in again, then to be technical, then this text is a tenrim text. This text is a tenrim text. It's not a lamrim text. Yeah? If we want to be more kind of technical. Yeah. Sorry, give me 1 second. Somebody.
TEN, 10,
Sorry?
like the 10 room, you're saying TEN, 10 room?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thanks. I just
Sorry.
wanted to-
Say that again, your question. I maybe I missed.
No, I was just not hearing the word. I was hearing a D instead of a T.
Oh, 10. Yeah, like TEN. Yeah, tenrim. Sorry. Tenrim. Yeah. But sorry, I am looking up something. Ta-ta-ta. Okay. And so here, right, as I've said, I think both Tenrim and Lamrim, this style of text I've said before in the past, which of course then maybe I'm to be faulted for saying, oh, let's read this, and then I can't come so many Sundays, and then you're left to your own devices. Like Tenrim, I really feel like Tenrim and Lamrim texts are texts to be taught rather than texts to be read. And then I was like, okay, yeah, go ahead and read. So I want to take some responsibility for possibly causing some of you to go, I don't know this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I really think that they're like meant for teachers to ground their teachings, and not necessarily meant for disciples to go. For sure, the disciples or practitioners who are not attending the traditional monastic education system, it's not easy to read Lamrim or Tenrim. Even though you hear stages of the path and you think, oh, that, oh, this must be what we all should read. So anyway, right, coming back here. So yeah, so the classifications of karmic actions and results, the teaching on the nature of each of them. So they are dense. They are to be unpacked by someone, by a teacher, by whoever is teaching you. To unpack this and then like unpack this and then give examples and say, well, in your daily life, this is how this plays out, this how, and then add in some stories, some anecdotes, and then it's like, yeah, like that classic that has been translated as Words of My Perfect Teacher. Those are exactly. There is the root text, which is a Ngondro root text that functions like the Lamrim text or the Tenrim text. And then there is Padru Rinpoche's teacher telling stories, applying these lines to things that he's seeing around him.
Yes.
And no surprise, that book is a favorite, of many, because it makes all these terms and ideas and stages come alive, So anyway, so come back here. The classifications is the first part. So classifying karmic actions and results, and the teaching on the nature of each of them. So there are two classifications of karmic actions and result: afflicted and unafflicted. So first, the basic division we need to understand that there's afflicted karma and non-afflicted karma. So starting first with afflicted karma. There are three types of afflicted karma: non-meritorious cause and effect, non-meritorious karmic actions and result, meritorious karmic action and results, and unshakable karmic actions and results. So under this afflicted, even the meritorious karmic actions and results is part of this afflicted. Yeah. So, before, I feel, before we look at the details of what is afflicted karmic cause and result, let's go to unafflicted karmic cause and results first. It will help us bring into clearer focus of what is afflicted karmic cause and result. So let's start from the end, so to say. So this will be page 63, the main translation that we're all reading. And then in the other book, it is wait, where did it go? In the other book, it is unshakable. This is translated as non-moving. It's on 58. He calls it non-contaminated karma. The result of non-contaminated karma. Yes. And the other translation would translate it as karma and result, which karma literally means action, and result contaminated with afflictive emotions. So there is the action and result that is contaminated with the afflictive emotions, and those not contaminated with afflictive emotions. So anyway, let's first look at the cause and result that is not contaminated by the afflictive emotions, in which three are the most obvious, which is ignorance, confusion, attachment, and aversion. We call these the three poisons. So here, bottom of 63. According to the general language of Abhidharma, Abhidharma is a form of, the third category of the basic organization of Buddhist texts. After the death of Buddha, when all these texts were compiled together, put together, they were organized, it says, into three general collections. One is known as the Sutra collection, or basket, literally. So one basket full of sutras. Those are discourses, sermons, or teachings that the Buddha gave. Then the second category are the prescriptions and proscriptions. That's called the Vinaya, which is the specific rules of training. Of course, there's overlap of material between these two, but the Vinaya is very much related to the specific prescriptions, and proscriptions that the Buddha gave. That's called the Vinaya collection, or the Vinaya basket. Then the third basket is called the Abhidharma. Abhidharma means the super dharma, like the profound dharma. And what's the content of this? This is basically, whereas the first collection, the sutras, and the second collection often are contextualized. At one time, Buddha was at a place, he saw this, so then he told his disciples that, or someone came and asked the Buddha a number of questions, then the Buddha proceeded to answer. That's sutra. Vinaya material is, so one time there was this problem and somebody came and asked the Buddha and said, why is it your monks, when they eat, they're so loud and noisy? There are things like that, And Buddha says, yes, yes, yes. Then Buddha called those monks and said, do not cause offense by eating loudly, noisily. So then that became a training point, a rule. I think training point better, a rule. And so on and so forth. Then, so both in the sutra and in the Vinaya, the material have context. With the Abhidharma, that's just, I guess, what you and I would call philosophy. And I don't want it to sound like philosophy, therefore, but rather you could say, based on specific examples found in the Sutra and the Vinaya material, the Abhidharma distills the principles that these stories illustrate. And so under the Abhidharma, it tends to be very tight, no stories, and a lot of technical terms and lists, because it's a higher dharma in the sense of, whereas in the stories and in the lessons that you can learn from the sutras and from the Vinaya, they're always contextualized into these different circumstances, different individuals. In the Abhidharma, the dharma that is discussed there is essentially dharma, doesn't change with conditions, doesn't change with audience. So here, coming back, according to the general language of Abhidharma, if one's meditation is selflessness of persons, and one's interrelated conduct is the virtue of the method, then one attains the hearer's enlightenment. So here, he provides a footnote. Basically, we're saying, if when you're engaged in formal meditation, you consider the realization of the selflessness of persons to be the final meaningful goal to achieve. And in relation to that, you are focused on the accumulation of merit. Then you will achieve the Shravaka realization, or the Shravaka level of attainment, which is the first of three increasingly more profound levels. There is the Shravaka, hearer level, there is the solitary Buddha, Pratyeka Buddha level, and there is the fully awakened Samnya Sambuddha level. If in addition to this, one's meditation is natureless held sense objects, and one's interrelated conduct is virtue of the method. So here essentially is talking about, on the one hand, the wisdom, which is the meditation, whether it's on selflessness of persons, or in this second case, one's meditation is natureless held sense objects. Then, on the other hand, you also accumulate merit. Then you attain the solitary realizes level of attainment. Now, finally, of course, this is the one that we should all work on and aspire, the third one. If in addition to this, your meditation is natureless inner holding mind, and your outer conduct is virtue, then you attain unsurpassed enlightenment. So in other words, it's saying all those causes and results that you engage in, whether your goal is to become a hearer Buddha, a solitary realizer Buddha, or a complete and full Buddha, all those practices, all those successes, they are all what we call uncontaminated karma. Because in all three levels over there, the goal remains the same, but it's the breadth that grows. Do you understand that? Yeah, so meaning, in all those three levels, you are seeking to be free from the afflictive emotions. And therefore, all the actions and results of that kind of practice, they all arise as
Stand afflicted
uncontaminated.
to
As
mean
uncontaminated.
selfless.
Sorry?
And we understand afflictive emotion to be unafflicted emotion, to be selfless.
Here, selfless doesn't mean altruistic. Here, selfless means lacking self. Yeah, it doesn't mean altruistic.
Yeah.
So here, when it says selflessness of persons, is talking about the emptiness of inherent existence of persons. Not the altruism that arises from not being focused on the person. And the next one, the particular Buddhas, the solitary realizer, it says that they are working on understanding the lack of self as it pertains to persons. And then the second lack of self, the second selflessness, again, not altruism, but the second lack of self in relation to what? In relation to phenomena, persons and phenomena. What is the relationship between persons and phenomena? Persons is the sense that arises on the basis of phenomena coming together. Particularly in our case, the phenomena of the five aggregates have come together in a certain way, then it gives rise to a sense of self. That's called self of persons. But we have to realize the lack of self in regard to this felt sense of I exist, I am. We need to realize the not self of that I. That's called selflessness of persons. So it says the hearer vehicles, they are working on that. The solitary realizer vehicle, they are working on that, but on top of that, they are also working on seeing that phenomena, right? The building blocks for this sense of self, that phenomena themselves, even these impersonal phenomena, the impersonal aggregates that are coming together, even they lack self, meaning lack unchanging substance.
Now, discussion, I mentioned last Sunday on this specific topic. There's a book called The Recognition Sutras. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. It's called The Recognition Sutras.
I've never heard of it. Not sure.
Well, this point was emphasized in that book. The lack of realness, so to speak,
The
both
lack
of
of
self
what?
and phenomena.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's what's being said here, if I understand what you're saying.
I can't speak to that because I'm not familiar with the recognition sutras. But probably, yeah, you know. Mm,
I have a question.
yes.
I'm really
Okay.
curious.
I quickly looked. That's not a Buddhist text.
No.
That's a Shaivite, Hindu Shaivite text. So yeah, so I don't know anything about that. Can't speak to that. Yeah, now I just look it up. Yeah, it's a Shaiva, Hindu Shaivite text. Uh, yeah, a non-Buddhist, which yeah, I can't speak to that. Melissa, you had a question, comment?
Yeah, I'm really interested in the language here, and I was wondering about this phrase, inner holding mind, where in that last sentence it says,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're getting there.
if in addition to this, one's meditation
Huh?
is inner holding mind.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering about what that means.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
All right. So the second selflessness is the selflessness as it involves phenomena. The ability to see that the building blocks of what we build reality and our sense of self out of. Those are called dharmas. Those are the phenomena, right? That those basic building blocks also lack self, lack permanence, lack substance. Okay? Now, what they're doing here now is they're dividing it so that solitary realizer Buddhas only can see the lack of self with regards to phenomena as objects. Whereas the third group, those who are aiming for full and complete Buddhahood, they can see the lack of self with regards to the mind that is perceiving the phenomena. So it's the subjective end of that instance. Every instance of perceiving phenomena can be divided into the subjective end of the moment and the objective end of the moment. Solitary realizers have a more profound understanding of emptiness compared to hearers, because hearers only realize the level of selflessness of persons. Solitary realizers realize half of the equation of the of the selflessness of phenomena. So they have together 1.5. Complete and perfect Buddhas, the third group, they have 2. Right? Because not only, so like hearers, like solitary realizers, they have realized the selflessness of persons. Like solitary realizers, they have realized also the objective end with regards to phenomena. On top of that, they have also seen the lack of persons, lack of self in the subjective end. So then they have completely realized the two, the emptiness or the selflessness of both persons and phenomena. But with regard to this chapter, right? Actually, all of this is extra information. If we go back to the division of there is afflicted karmic actions and unafflicted karmic actions, simply distill that to basic point, it's afflicted karmic actions are those that are under the power of the 3 poisons. Unafflicted are those causes and results that are not under the influence of the three afflictive emotions. And then here, in this case, and so then you say, well, then, and who are the ones who are capable of, producing unafflicted causes and results? Well, the hearers, the solitary realizers, and the Buddhists.
Got it.
Yep. Basically, not you and me currently.
Right.
Yeah. Not you and me currently. But we can work on making sure that it will be you, it will be me eventually. Yeah, all this other information about, I mean, he could have simply said, all the cause and effect, all the karma of hearers, solitary realizers, and full and complete Buddhas, and of statement, then it would be sufficient to kind of do what is doing here. Like, all karmic actions can be divided into those who are those that are contaminated and those that are uncontaminated.
Right.
But he feel moved, or for other reasons he wants to say more about what are hearers, and what are solitary realizers, and what are full Buddhists. Then he says, well, because, right, if another context, we say, what are enlightened beings? So again, in our general use of our general kind of reading of Dharma text, we say, oh, enlightened beings, enlightened beings, enlightened beings, enlightened beings. But in this kind of text, or people who are educated in a formal classical way, like in monastic education, and they say, oh, there are three types of enlightened beings. There are the hearer Buddhists. There are the solitary realizer Buddhists. There are the full and complete Buddhists. Those are the three categories. And with regards to the three, why are they three and not one? Because first of all beings that are enlightened have perfected within their own context two main things: merit and wisdom. But the merit and wisdom of a solitary realizer, in comparison to a fully awakened Buddha, is less. But the merit and wisdom of a solitary realizer is greater than the merit and wisdom of a hearer. That's what Pamonrupa is doing here, providing that extra information. Again, you and I, right? If we were the professor grading him, we'll say, extraneous information, distracting, take it out.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna say extraneous.
Oh, yeah? Good,
That's
your
what I-
powers are increasing now.
I mean, that's what a note I would have written on someone's paper.
Yes, you would circle that and say, and so? That would be, I'm more mean. Well, extraneous is a very big word. I will just circle and question mark and say, who cares?
Yeah.
A kinder grade that would be, well, thank you for including this, but not relevant.
It seems to help me see the depth of the delusion, though.
Yeah, sure. Huh? Oh, yes,
You're
yeah.
you're deluded in thinking that you are really relevant as as a self.
Uh-huh.
But then the next level, you then realize the delusion of thinking external phenomena are real.
Yes,
And
correct.
then at the maximum level, you realize that you as a perceiver are
Oh,
deluded in
yes,
that
yes.
too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Like, it does. I'm just saying, but with regards to that division into contaminated, uncontaminated, not related. And that's why it's hard to read, text like this. Unless,
Or
someone like
if
me.
you're contaminated, then you're pretty much screwed all the way around.
Yeah. Well, now let's look at, briefly, let's start at least. So we go back. Okay, what is that the contaminated? What is the afflicted karmic cause and result, right? In some ways, you could say that's most relevant because that's where you and I are currently parked. There are three types of afflicted karmic actions: non-meritorious, meritorious, and unshakable or unmoving. Non-meritorious are karmic actions, and non-meritorious karmic actions are what we call non-virtues. They are those causes that lead to rebirth in the three realms of misery, or the three planes of misery, which is specifically is referring to hell beings, hungry ghost beings, and animals. So those are clearly, unambiguously non-meritorious karmic actions. They are negative because what comes out of them is existence in these miserable places. Meritorious karmic actions are afflicted virtues. And what are they? Generosity, disciplined conduct, and patience. The cause of birth in the desire realm as a human, a demigod, or a god. So in this way, you account for the six realms. So those actions that we create that lead to rebirth again and again as a human, as a god, as a demigod, they are called afflicted virtues. Or another way of seeing it is they are partial virtues. And why? The bottom line is these are doing good, right? Doing good. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, so the gods are agreeing. Yes, do good,
He didn't put his hands up behind.
There's another, what was it? Where is the other one that is even more dramatic? Like lights will start coming out of me.
Oh, yeah.
Which one is that? Like that?
Try that.
Oh, yeah. See?
Oh my gosh, you're fully enlightened. No.
Oh, no, yeah.
I think if you wave your hands, if you wave them like that, I think you might get the fireworks. I know.
No? Oh, yes. These are the mundane siddhis, Yes, these are the mundane siddhis. So this is the afflicted. So this is like doing good, but without understanding. And not only just without understanding, but tainted by self-cherishing. So Buddha is not saying that it's not good. It's it's better to be. We don't have a choice. We're now stuck in the six realms. So as long as we're stuck in the six realms, try to maximize, birth in the upper three rather than birth in the lower three. Now, all of this applies to if you're like, I don't know about these other places, but right now I'm here. It's even talking about here, like right now. Do you want to experience your life as a hell realm or as a God realm? Accordingly, you create those conditions for the ripening of those scenarios. Yeah. Unshakable karmic actions are the samadhis of karma binding, which are then the cause of birth as a god, as a light being. What we translate as God in Sanskrit is Deva. Deva literally means light beings. So we're born as light beings in the form and formless realms. So here we're talking about sometimes what's called the three realms of existence. We're very familiar with the six realms because in part, the painting, right, of the wheel of becoming, this creature hanging on, grasping this wheel divided into six quadrants, right? The God realm, hell realm, demigod realm, human, hungry ghosts, animals, six, right? And now another schema for dividing, for drawing up the divisions within confused existence, what we call samsara, is known as the three realms. There, it's the sensuous realm or desire realm, kama loka in Sanskrit, not karma, kama. Kama is desire. There is the desire realm. Then there is the rupa loka, the form realm, and the arupya loka, that's the formless realms. In order to achieve, to exist in this form realm, a formless realm, your mind has to be trained. And so these are the various levels of the mind becoming more and more quiet, then you can be born into these higher realms. So form there is talking about refined, subtle form, not in the sense of you and I, the forms that we have now. Yeah. Then the next section, he wants to discuss the non-meritorious cause and effect. He says, then, if we are talking about that, there is what is known as the 10 non-virtues. Or, he says, you can also understand that as the three aspects to their results: the fully ripened result, the accordant with the cause result, and the result of the power. Again, these are further divisions, Fully completing the 10 non-virtues, the completely ripened results are the three realms of misery. Meaning, if you engage in the 10 non-virtues fully, completely, then the result is existing in the three realms of misery. That's the hell realm, hungry ghost, and animal. The Buddha taught that the result of killing, divisive speech, and harsh words, and ill will, that leads to the hell realm. Because these are all related to anger and aggression: killing, divisive speech, harsh words, and ill will. The result of taking what is not offered, then sexual misconduct and covetousness. And so this is all related to desire. This leads to the hungry ghost realm. And the result of lying, deceptive speech, heedless speech, and wrong views leads to the animal realm. This is how you divide the 10 non-virtues. Then he says, furthermore, you can say, as with regards to these non-virtues, birth in the three realms of misery occurs by the distinctions of the weight of the object, the weight of the affliction, and the weight of the count. And the weight of the object means, 10 non-virtues that are committed against in relation to the three jewels, and so forth. And the so forth, it includes your parents and your teachers. In other words, killing, stealing, violating with sexual misconduct against any of this, the weight is very weighty. Lying to, causing divisions, harming them with divisive speech, the weight is very weighty. So on that point, that there's seriousness by way of, who you are doing these things towards, then the very serious one in terms of killing is killing one's father, who is also a Pratyeka Buddha, or one's mother, who is also an Arhat, very, very negative. Stealing what is not offered, and stealing, in other words, stealing the offerings that are done, that are made to the three jewels. Then sexual misconduct, especially heinous, it says, is conduct with one's mother, who is also an Arhat, or one's father, who is also a solitary realizer. And lying, purposely lying to a Kempo or a Lopan. Here, let's not think like, because somebody got that title, then that's what we're talking about. Because these are now also used as titles, of different teachers within the system. Here is really talking about purposely confusing lying to your guides.
I think we've run out of time, Dr. Lye.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
afraid.
Yeah. So the rest of that, you can see that. The rest of that is talking about how weighty these actions are. Yeah. Then weight by affliction and weight by count, as in done towards many, or done towards only a few persons.
I
So,
found one of the questions that we had, and unfortunately there isn't time to get into it, but
Yeah.
on page 69, footnote 1, he talks about changing your gender more than twice.
yes.
That stopped us.
Oh, yes. These are things that have happened apparently during the Buddha's time.
That's amazing.
Huh.
Yeah.
That-
And as far as we can tell from those stories, right?
Yeah,
There were no surgeries involved.
right, right.
Yeah, that somehow it happens,
Yeah.
and that's how you lose your vow. Now that one, right? I mean, we inevitably we look at it and say, oh, they are like anti-trans. It's not talking about that. It's talking about, right? Because when you take monks' vows or nuns' vows, for example, nuns' trainings has 350 something. Monks' training has 250 something. Okay, and you're like, well, first of all, when you hear that point, you're like, whoa, that's so unfair.
Right.
But it includes things like menstrual pads.
Right.
And hence there is more, right? And of course, there's part of it is culture, like how many pieces of robes, like a monk only need 3.
Right.
A lower robe, an upper robe, and an outer robe. Now, then for women, because of Indian cultural context, right? Basically underwear to not expose your breasts and things like
Right.
that, right?
Right.
So you lose the vows when if you took the monk's vows and now you're a woman, you've lost your monk's vows because you're now a woman. So you have to retake your vows. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know, it's not like you have lost your vows, now you're a bad person, you know, it's not. Although certainly I'm sure there are some Buddhists who would use things like this to, you know, to kind of go along with their fear or, you know, worries about, you know, the politics that we have today. You know, I mean, any religion, anybody can take any of these things and, you know, kind of
Right.
take it in the direction they want to take it.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Oh, this was so
Well,
great.
thank
Thank
you.
you
very much.
Yes.
I have to get ready now. Sunday afternoons is godpa duty. It's feeling more and more like grandpa duty.
It's all right. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy.
Yeah, godfather time. Yeah. Okay. Bye bye, y'all.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Bye, Steve.
A lot of problems would be solved if there were spontaneous changes of.
Gender
changes.
changes.
Darren, don't forget
Bye.
that email.
Oh, I am. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.